My name is Philip Womack, and I've written 3 books for children. The first one was called The Other Book, and it was about a magic book which contains the secrets of good and evil in it, as most magic books do. And the second one was called The Liberators, which was about this sinister 1,000-year-old cult arriving in London and trying to remove people's consciences and thereby instilling chaos. And then the third one, which has just come out, is called The Broken King, and it's about a boy called Simon who gets really annoyed with his little sister and wishes her away, except that actually she does get taken away. I wrote my first novel when I was at law school, which is a very un-children-like place, and I wasn't unhappy, but I wasn't happy. And I think that I just started writing this book just as a means of expression, really, and obviously I was happy as a child, so I think I just turned to that as a way of finding a sort of place of serenity. And I really didn't intend to write it for publication, because at that time I did think I was going to be a lawyer. Children's books can explore very interesting and dark and complicated and difficult ideas in a way that's safe as well, because children see the world around them and they don't understand it, and there are very, very present real dangers out there, but a children's book can show real dangers in a safe way. I think they have the same function as nightmares, actually, in that if you have a nightmare, it kind of exposes you to emotions that you won't have felt in real life, and it kind of trains your brain to feel those emotions. And a children's book has a similar effect, and you read a book and you're scared and you're terrified, and it sort of teaches you how to be scared, but it also teaches you how to overcome that fear. And in a way, they're almost sort of manuals for living, because they give you these tools. It's kind of a historical thing that stems from fables and myths, and that you can encode things in myths and fables which are more understood by children, more easily understood by children, than if you tell them something straight, which is quite strange, and it says a lot about how our minds work, that we latch on to things that are more abstract, funnily enough, more easily than a concrete thing. So I think you can show children a lot about courage and honour and goodness and things by telling them a story that shows these things, rather than saying, you've got to be good. So in Nancy Mitford's The Pursuit of Love, there is a character called Uncle Matthew, who whenever he doesn't like somebody, he writes their name on a piece of paper and puts it in a drawer, hoping that this will somehow cast a bad spell on them. And this is in the early 20th century. So I think that it does stem from this very ancient sense that writing and books are somehow magical, because you're encoding a voice in a symbol, which is a magical thing, to write down what comes out of a person and somehow hold it and keep it, and in a way you become immortal, the person who's writing it, and it's you live. I mean, that's the other amazing thing about classics, is that there we are reading the words of people who died thousands of years ago. It's amazing. It is like a spell. Well, when I was very small, like a lot of people, I had a book of Greek mythology, and so that became almost part of the way that I thought about the world. I've been working on a series of books based on Greek myths. So the first one is currently titled The Double Axe, and it's a retelling of the Minotaur story. So it's set in a sort of version of Minoan Crete, and it plays with the myth of the labyrinth and the Minotaur. The labyrinth is compelling for so many reasons. It's a symbol of the human complexity. We don't know where we are or where we're going. We feel like we're in a maze all the time. It's very difficult for humans to find a clear direction in something, and I think that's why the labyrinth appeals so much. And I think the Minotaur appeals because it's that idea of something that's so primitive and raw, and a sort of half beast and a half man, and again it's a metaphor. The beast inside the man, how does that work? And that's so relevant today as well. If we think about ourselves as animals, it kind of helps us to understand why we behave like that, but also helps us to break away from behaving like that, so we can put a line down it and say, well, actually, no, that's not acceptable human behaviour. And the myths that were around at the time were never codified. It wasn't as if, we grow up learning these stories, but they're not by any means concrete, they're elastic, and you can play with them. As long as the central elements are there, I think you can do what you like with them.